Hello, on Forest Focus. The transfer window will be closed by the time Nottingham Forest take on Wolves tomorrow, with 3 Premier League points up for grabs and a big season ahead of us. Joining me to discuss the game at City Ground from a visiting point of view is Ryan Leister from the Wolves Report. Ryan, I didn't even ask if I've said your surname correctly there, so please correct me if I got it wrong. But how are you?
It's fine, Matt. Yeah, very good. It's been spelt, and I'm sure I've been called worse things than how you've pronounced my name. So yeah, not to worry. But we're all good. I'm looking forward to Saturday. Also had a bit of light relief on Wednesday evening after progression in the cup, so pressure off a little bit, but back to real Premier League business on Saturday tomorrow.
Yes, the Moore Gibbs White derby, prevalent with, as we call this, Morgan's just been called up for England, so I'm sure he'll be up for it. We'll touch on Forest players, but talk mostly about Wolves. Interesting start to the season for you. You've got a horrific fixture list, so you might be targeting this game. What are you hoping for from this season, realistically, based on the state of your squad and the transfer business that might be done? As we would call this, Andre looks like he's about to sign for you, who seems a good player. So how are you feeling about it overall?
Yeah, it's a strange one because in terms of our 1 to 11, you take Max Kilman and you take Pedro Neto out, and your 11's weaker. But because of some returning low-lees, Daniel Prudenza, who's very popular at the City Ground, Goncalo Greg, these guys come back from loans who are they're part of the squad at the moment. The squad's actually stronger, so we have more depth, but we don't have quality at the top end quite like we used to. So I would expect Wolves to be staying up comfortably. But I think there's quite a few teams, and I'd put Forest in that mix as well, where there's a bunch of probably 6, 7, 8 teams that could break the top 10, but you just don't know. I'd still have the 3 teams that got promoted last year as the favourites to go down, and I'd probably put Everton into that bracket as well now because they've had a stinky start to the season. It doesn't appear they've got any money to spend. I can't really talk about goals conceded because Wolves have shipped an absolute bundle in the first 2 games, but yeah, I think Wolves should be comfortable away from those 4. I think Forest will be as well, with particularly the good business you've done and under a good coach. So yeah, if Wolves were 14th, 15th, that's where I probably expect. If higher, great. Maybe I'm being a little bit more cautious after the reality check that was Arsenal and Chelsea.
What's the fan mood like then? Because obviously you've, like you say, you've shipped quite a few goals. I was reading about that Wolves fans being very unhappy with season ticket prices, as were Forest fans, but Wolves fans to a greater degree, I would say. And then, like you say, you've sold players. I don't know how big the budget for purchases is, but it doesn't seem massive. Are Wolves fans fed up, or are they on board with the project still?
I think they're on board with the manager and the players. There was no discontent after conceding 6 on Sunday against Chelsea. Gary O'Neill was still clapped off, and he sort of took responsibility for the defeat. And I think when a manager does that, it gets you instant buyback, because sometimes there's excuses or this or that or this. He held his hands up. That was on me. Tactically, I got it wrong. So the fans are very much on board with the manager, which is good. And obviously the cup win on Wednesday brought a little bit of faith back as well. I don't think there's such a good relationship with the man at the top of the club. Wolves have got some fantastic people working for them. Wolves fans are not. But the man at the very top of the club is Jeff Shee. Put the season ticket prices up. I mean, it's between £700 and £800 to sit behind the goal. It's like £800-900 alongside the pitch in a stand that's like older than me, and that's old. So in terms of, they talk about the products and what you're getting. If you're going to charge people that money, then that isn't too dissimilar to Aston Villa. Then, you know what I mean? If you're paying for that product, I want similar things, but that doesn't appear to be the case. So I think there is discontent with the man at the top of the club, not so much the owners, but the man that's fronting up the owners, because I don't feel like he tells us a story and it doesn't always end the way that we expect. Obviously the season ticket prices, and then there was an article put out earlier in the season, and he pretty much said if trophies and finals and Europe's for you, then maybe Wolves aren't the club for you. Imagine your owner telling you that. As football fans, you go, don't you? You go as you'll get out with. You have dreams and hopes. One day it might be you in a cup final. One day it might be us beating Man City or whoever. You have those dreams and playing in Europe. For your owner to come down and cut you down like that, for me, that's someone that doesn't understand football and allowing the fan base to dream, which is what football is all about. We're in similar boats at the moment. I I don't think Wolves or Forest are going to win a trophy anytime soon. But you don't want to take that dream away, and you don't expect the person who's heading up your club to cut you down, saying, "Well, maybe that if you're expecting that kind of thing, maybe it's not for you." He may be trying to manage people's expectations, but football's all about dreaming for clubs like Wolves and Forest, and I don't think you can be putting fans down like that.
No, our owner is he's well up for it. He's eyeing Europe and all that stuff, which our fans certainly love. I mentioned the first two games a couple of times. Arsenal away, really difficult. You lost 2-0. Chelsea at home, and you lost that one 6-2. But it sounds like Wolves actually played quite well in phases of the game. And was that one a freak result, or were there loads of red flags?
Yeah, just going back to the Arsenal one, I didn't come away from Arsenal too displeased, because peak Arsenal last season were cutting anyone open. Wolves were in a really good game. Arsenal were not cutting through Wolves. It was a few new players in the team, very much more physical and mobile, and the better team won. But at 1-0, Wolves were very much in that. They had a few half chances. They should have been better. Jose Sarr didn't have one of his best days. So I came away from Arsenal with some optimism that we'd push the team that are pushing Man City, and we'd give them a proper game. On to Sunday, 2-2 at half time. Atmosphere was electric. The football was good. It was a little bit open more than I've liked, but sometimes to beat the best side, you've got to roll the dice. There was some good football, the press, the aggression. It was very, very exciting. But Chelsea responded with 2 quick goals in the second half. And then when you've got players like Neto and Joe Felix that you can bring off the bench to come and add a bit more firepower and pick teams off, there's only one thing that's going to happen. Were Wolves a little bit naive to keep going at them? Yes. Did the game reflect? Was the score a true reflection of the game? I don't think so. The best side won. There's no doubt about that. Chelsea 4 goals better than Wolves? I don't think so. We'll put it into perspective. I think Wolves had 2 disallowed goals. They hit the post and the bar, and had other chances. So Wolves could have probably had 3 or 4 goals themselves. But it's a wake-up call, and if it's used as a wake-up call, as a reality check of what certain players can do and play them within their limitations, and knowing your opponents of when to go 4 at the back or a 5 at the back, or when to push your full-back inverted to go into centre midfield, you probably can't do that against the very best teams that will take you apart on the counter. And Wolves have learned a hard lesson, but if they go to Forest and they adjust accordingly, then it's a lesson worth learning.
There's a few specific players I'd like to ask you about, but just in general, what are the strengths? What are the weaknesses that what should worry us? What should give us hope as Forest fans?
Well, we've conceded 8 goals in 2 games. That's to me. I'd want to be playing any team that's doing that. There's this factor. Like I think I said to you this on last year's part of I didn't really care about Forest either way. It was somewhere I enjoyed an away day that was reasonably local, at a good town centre, some beers, a laugh. I enjoy end away going to, but the whole Gibbs White situation, and a bit more with Willy Boly, and then with Nuno, there seems to be a bit of an edge to the game now, and I've got no problem with that, because I like a bit of fire in the game. So I think it'll have not a derby feel, but there'll certainly be an edge. There'll certainly be some of this from Cunha or Gibbs White, and I'm all for that, because I want football to be feisty and a little bit about it. So, and again, I digress, but Wolves have conceded 8 goals. That should give you a lot of hope. Gibbs White's obviously been called up for England. Again, that's going to give you a smile, and you're going to be sort of telling the away end about that as well. From a Wolves point of view, I hope that Forest look at Wolves that they've letting 8 goals and we'll just go at these and it'll be easy peasy. I really hope that happens, because Wolves' forward line of Matthias Cunha and Strand Larsen look like a really promising pair. Big guys, both mobile, particularly Cunha. You saw Cunha's his goal last year when he sort of cut inside 2 men and bent it in the top corner. I think, although it's not very Nuno-like, but I think this will be a really open game of football, and I'm really looking forward to it.
What about the centre halves then? Because you've got Craig Dawson. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is he out of favour? You've got Totti, who was playing left back, and you've got Mosquera, who's made some headlines from the first game. Sounds like he had a difficult time. Is that the area that Forest will be looking at, though, that centre of defence, and think, yeah, we can get at these 2?
I wouldn't be so more worried about the centre-backs, because I think they're a physical match for anybody. If it's Totti and Mosquera, in terms of strength and pace, they held their own at Arsenal and did very well. The problem came against Chelsea when Ait-Nouri, who's a very talented footballer, when Wolves were in possession, he kept coming into midfield, but we kept losing it. And then when that happened, then Toti's left in a 2-on-1 situation. And then Aït-Nouri and Toti are probably a victim of the system or their own mistakes. Because if you're getting caught out and you're a 2-on-1 against any professional footballer, worst of all, if you're playing against Chelsea with £1 billion squad, you're going to get punished. And that's exactly what happened. So Toti, probably not the best on the ball. Mosquera has come back from a couple of loans. He played in America, and then last year he went in La Liga, had a really good loan spell. I think a few teams were desperate to sign him. He came back with a bit of controversy against Arsenal, a bit of housery, to put it the least. But the fans have taken to him because he's Wolves have been a little bit nice for me over the years. And you might disagree with that with Daniel Podence. You may see him on Saturday. Who knows if he's not been sold or not? But I like Mosquera and what he offers. He's not too bad on the ball. He's got when his legs are opened up, he's strong. He's quick. He's confident, and he's not afraid to liven the party up a little bit to upset a few people. And I think sometimes when teams are a bit nice, like Wolves have been, he'll do that. So if I was Forest, I'd be attacking Wolves on your right hand side, down our left. That would be where I wouldn't want people to be doing that. But I'm guessing Wolves may make some tweaks, whether we go to 5 at the back and Dawson comes back in the middle of a 3 with Toti left and Mosquera right. Whether Wolves go with 3 in centre middle with Andre, who's supposedly joining before deadline day. If that happens, he could come into a 3-man midfield. Then you've got 3 across the middle. You can protect your fullbacks more when they get forward. So I don't know. I usually have an idea of how Wolves are going to play. Will it be a 4? Will it be a 5? I genuinely don't know. Wolves beat Burnley comfortably 2-0 in the cup with the back 4, made 10 changes. Aït-Nouri was the only one that played. He played an hour, probably to get his confidence back up after being part of a 6-goal hammering. Craig Dawson came back in, also played an hour, went off after an hour. They looked like they were timed ones, bang on an hour. So to me, that kind of signifies they'll be involved at the weekend. But whether that's a 4 or 5, I don't know. But obviously, Forest have got a lot of pace left and right. And if they counter, they could exploit when Aït-Nouri's forward. So it certainly makes for an open game if we'll approach it the same way.
I know Dawson missed the end last season through injury. Is he not in the side the first 2 games because of fitness, or because the manager just doesn't rate him as much as the other 2 in a 4?
I think Wolves have gone to a 4 and they've chosen Toti and Mosquera because of physicality, pace, the ability to get around. Craig Dawson, if it was just about defending, he'd be the first name on the team sheet. Wins all his headers, great at blocking, great leader, very calm, good in his own box, good in the opponent's box. But Wolves play with a high line and they squeeze and they're a bit more aggressive. You can't really play on the halfway line with Craig Dawson or Santi Bueno as much as you could with Toti and Mosquera. They're probably not the defenders that Craig is, but they're both quick. They're both good at one-on-one battles. They can both recover from a mistake. So if you've got 2 sort of very athletic and strong players, you can squeeze higher up and force the opponents into high press mistakes, which I think Wolves will try and do.
Our goalkeeping situation over the summer has been really similar to yours. We've got Matt Sells. We've been linked with Ramsdale heavily, Johnston all summer. You were linked with both, and it looks like you're getting Johnston as we record this. In fact, you might have actually signed him, to be honest. What's your take on the goalkeeping situation? Will Sarr play against us, do you think?
I think Jose Sarr's form in the first 2 games doesn't really reflect who he is as a goalkeeper. In his first season, he had the highest save stats percentage across all the top leagues in European football. Save-wise, he's capable of the most spectacular, but he can be erratic. He can come out sometimes and go walkies. His distribution is more from bad decisions than poor ability. I think he can kick a ball well. It's just his decision-making isn't particularly good in those areas. But again, he's part of a defence and a goalkeeping line that's conceded 8. And I would say a few of those goals have been down to him. I'd put partial blame on both goals at Arsenal, coming out and missing the cross and then being beaten at your near post, I would say. And he was beat from an acute angle a couple of times for the goals in the second half against Chelsea. So he's not been good. Sam Johnson, not as spectacular as Jose Sarr, but probably a little bit more consistent. Looks like a bigger guy. Probably equally okay on the ground, but I think more of a consistent decision maker, if not as spectacular. You don't keep making regular England squads if you're not a very good goalkeeper. So you must be half decent. I've been told that deal is done. Nothing's been announced, so it's not official. But let's see.
Excellent. Just before I get Ryan's take on Forest, just a quick word for our sponsors, the Trent Navigation. Obviously, the game is on Saturday tomorrow. Get down there straight after the final whistle, pretty much straight after Oasis are playing. It's free entry, as we've been saying all week, and you can get hopefully celebratory beers and pizza, burger, whatever you want after the game. And also, next Thursday is our final live show of the year at the Nav with Lewis McGugan on the panel with podcast regulars. Tickets are £6. £1 goes to charity. I'm the other charity to a decent extent, so hopefully we'll see lots of people down there, and I'm sure it'll be a good night. We'll discuss this game, transfer window, and the season ahead. I'll just put up the predicted team that we were discussing, or a possible team that we were discussing for Forest this morning, Ryan, and get your take on it. Bear with me one sec. There we go. For people who are listening or watching, it's unchanged from Southampton with one exception in Alex Moreno, possibly coming in at left back, and Olaena moving over to right back after he did really well last night against Newcastle. A few of these are fitness depending, like Moreno, Anderson, and a couple of others. But when you look at that team, does it look like a decent team that might trouble you with or worry you with one or two players? What's your take on it?
Yeah, it looks like a classic Nuno team. There's some guys that can tuck in there, but there's also, if you're going to go on the counter, we know Morgan's good in the transition, picking the ball up in the midfield and driving and hitting the ball the outside of his foot, left or right. Alanga, as we know, good player. Hudson-Odoi loves to cut inside and bang one in. So, and Chris Ward always scores against Wolves. He just seems to. He just does. I think he scored for Forest last year. He scored a hat-trick for Burnley at Mauling. He just loves playing against Wolves. So the only way to stop Chris Wood for Wolves is just to sign him, but we've never managed to do that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It doesn't look like a team that's going to hit through balls in behind. Looks like they'll feed into Chris Wood with Morgan travelling in behind him, and then obviously Hudson-Odoi and Alanga left and right. It looks a team that's set up to take the ball off you and break quickly. It's very Nuno of Wolves did it with like with wing backs, not with the four at the back, but it looks like a side that'll be fast in the transition. So could Wolves afford to play a high line if Chris Wood's the highest one up? Possibly, allow Wolves to squeeze, but then it'll test Sangra's and Anderson's sort of technical ability. I know Anderson's supposed to be neat and tidy on the ball. I've only seen him play a few times. He looks okay, but it'll be interesting. For me, if I was going to hurt that team, I want Cunha picking the ball up between Anderson and Sangra because he just glides past people. But again, I don't know if it's going to be wing backs with Aït-Nouri supporting. Nelson Semedo should be back in the side. So yeah, it's from the team that got promoted from Forest. I mean, I'm not going to give Forest too much love because I want to win, but the team that got promoted to the team that you've got now, it looks like some very good business has been done.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was looking at positional maps for the games. Chris Wood seems to be dropping a bit deeper, and Morgan's often our most advanced player, and then he's playing, the wingers in, and we're getting really good positions, and we look really dangerous. We just haven't quite been clinical. I mean, just before we finished, are you expecting that historically these games between us have been really tight? One goal in them, draws. Would you be expecting that again, realistically, tomorrow?
Yeah, I think when a team gets slapped, they're often a little bit more cautious and they are more determined not to concede than they are to score. I think Wolves took on Gary O'Neill's Bournemouth a year and a half, 2 years ago, when they'd just been beaten 7-0 at Liverpool. The manager, I think Parker, got sacked, and then Gary O'Neill took over and they drew 0-0 with Wolves. And then that was the start of the foundations for Bournemouth staying up. So I can't look at our side and your side and say not seeing there being any goals there. There's too much pace and talent. Like your three behind Wood can make things happen. I think both of those players are inverted, aren't they? They both want to cut inside and shoot. And Cunha fit. You saw last year he was only 75% fit. On his day, he's capable of beating anybody. Hat-trick away at Chelsea. The guy's an absolute player. But now the main difference between Wolves this year and last, well, since Jimenez got injured, we've now got a centre forward. Strand Larsen, mobile, can get in behind, links play, loves to link it, scored a great goal last weekend. So I think Wolves will be different and more dangerous going forward this year, which I think they'll see. That'll be a benefit to Cunha, more to Cunha than anyone else, because it'll give him a lot more of the ball in and around the box.
Just one last question before I let you go. I did reference earlier the Wolves fixture list, just for people. Forest fans probably don't know it, but you've had the 2 tough games, obviously. Then you've got us away, Newcastle at home, Villa away, Liverpool at home, Brentford away, Man City at home, Brighton away, and then it does start to ease. But for a first 9 games, I can't imagine it's much worse than that. Are you placing any extra emphasis on this game, or is that a dangerous mentality?
Do you know what you shouldn't do? You shouldn't vote against VAR and everyone else votes for it, because what happens then, you get punished. No, I'm joking. It's a very unfortunate set of fixtures there. It might be on purpose, who knows? The computer didn't like us for sure, but you have to play everybody twice. So you can have kind of starts and build up some form, but Wolves would be in danger of losing a bit of ground, and they have to look at games like Newcastle and Forest as opportunities to get points. It's a horrible start, and reading it out after the first two fixtures doesn't fill me full of joy. But it's football. There's no guarantees about anything, and like I said, you have to play everybody twice. The computers have been cruel, but I trust Gary O'Neill. I trust Gary O'Neill more than the guy at the very top. I trust the players. They didn't get a bad reception after conceded 6. The manager got applauded, sang his name, so everyone's very much on board with Gary O'Neill and these players that tend to give everything. So hopefully, I'm sure your listeners won't like that, but hopefully Wolves will bounce back on Saturday.
Well, hopefully not, but yeah, you're a nice guy, so I wish you. And I've got loads of Wolves. My brother's a Wolves fan, so yeah, I'm probably the only Forest fan who wishes Wolves well. Right, if people have liked this, do us a favour, hit like on the video, it makes a big difference. Do subscribe. You can become a channel member and do us a lovely review on iTunes. Ryan, it's really interesting hearing from you, and we'll hopefully catch up with you before the other game, whenever that is. I've got absolutely no idea. But thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all. I'm hoping we get a cup fixture against you as well. I still feel hard done by that fixture when we were. I think Bedent was clattered in the box and we didn't get a penalty because there's no VAR in the League Cup back then. So you don't remember it, or you do?
No, I don't. Honestly, I actually don't.
Outrageous.
It was like the Carabao Cup game.
Where it was the one that you win on penalties.
Okay. I only remember the penalties. I remember last night's penalties as well were painful for us, but yeah, it is a good rivalry between the teams. I've been going to Forest and Wolves games for forever. When we were playing the Championship, and you were historically always chasing promotion, and we were a bit lower down. But yeah, it's an interesting battle. A really good game. I'm really looking forward to it.
I think it just adds to more fun, doesn't it? I think as much as, I mean, there's only a proper rivals who I really dislike, but when there's a bit of needle about a game, I think it adds for a bit of atmosphere. I think the players feel it. There's more tackles in the game, and you want that in a game. We don't want a boring standoff, and I think there'll be needle on Saturday afternoon, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Excellent. We shall leave it there. We'll be back after the game tomorrow with our post-match show, and then we'll look to review the transfer window on Monday and see how we're feeling for the rest of the season. If we don't see you then, we shall see you soon.